schooling and education today. At the present day, we have schools where boys and girls are part of the schools. As we discussed till now, as the years pass on, nowadays people are able to understand what is the importance of education and why the girl child has to given a chance to get educated, so that everybody can understand the value of education. Now moving on into the census. For every 10 years in our country, the National Sample Survey Organization takes the calculation or the counting of the number of men, the number of women, the number of boys, the number of girls, the number of literates, the number of illiterates, the number of the scheduled caste people, the scheduled tribal people, the backward community people, the other categories people, economically backward people, the poverty people, below poverty line people, above poverty line people. All these statistics are taken by the National Sample Survey Organization for every 10 years. This has been started in 1911. So from 1911, 1891 to 1901, the Britishers used to take. Later under the British rule it continued, and today in our country it is taken by the Union government, the National Sample Survey Organization. So this takes the calculation of the entire population, their educational qualifications, their economic status and everything, their caste, everything criteria have been maintained. So when the statistics were taken for 10 years as per the census, in 1960s they were taking the calculation of comparison between the boys or men and the girls and women. How many boys and girls are getting educated, and let's take the comparison. In 1960s it was 40%, where the boys or men who are above 7 years of age know how to read and write, who are literates. But when it comes to girls or women, it is only 15%. You can see how much variation is there. Here we have 40%, there we have 15%. And coming to a particular understanding in 2001, this is about in 1960s. In 2001, when the census were taken, 76% of men or boys are getting educated, while girls only 54% are getting educated. So like this, there is a lot of discrimination still being continued. Then a lot of research has been gone through to understand what is the reason why the girls from special communities are not getting much educated. There are regular dropouts from the school. The first such category is the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. The girls from the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe will enroll their children into the primary schools, but later they are dropped out as they move to the higher classes. They are Dalits. We also have the Adivasi tribal groups who don't get much education. Primarily they send to school, but as the schools are far away, so they can send their children for education. And coming to Muslims, the Muslim community after 2001, the census revealed that SC, ST, Dalit or Adivasis are getting 1 year more education when compared to the Muslims. Muslims are sending their children, especially Muslim girls, for only 3 years of schooling, while the other communities are at least sending for 4 years of schooling. So there is a huge drawback in the Muslim community also. So there is no much education for Muslim girls. So like this, Dalits, Adivasis, SC, ST, Muslims, all these categories of women are not given a free hand to join the schools in the higher classes. So the research went on to what are the factors that are restraining them from entering into the high school. First factor is transport. Most of the primary schools will be located within the village or nearby to the house. So as it is a walkable distance for many of them, they join the school, they send the children for schools. But as the time passes, they have to go to the higher classes, whether a secondary school or upper primary school is a bit far away, like a group of villages will have a mandal. So in that we have a mandal parishad school. In the mandal parishad school, you may be having the upper primary or secondary schooling. So the girls have to travel 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers for a school. So because of this transport, most of the people from the SC, ST, Dalit or Adivasi or the primary Muslims don't join their children for higher classes. This is one major drawback. So the most of the schools have to be established within the villages. So every village within a diameter of 1.5 kilometer or 2 kilometers, we should have a school where everybody can reach to the school with a walkable distance, so that everybody feels comfortable, as in our society we don't have much security for the girls. As we discussed in the previous chapter, that girls have to walk straight because they go in groups. They have a fear that they may be teased by somebody. They may be getting some comments. Maybe this could be one of the reasons or the social causes why the girls are not going for higher classes, though it is 2 kilometers away from the village. This could be one of the reasons. And coming to poverty, most of the families of SC, ST, Dalit, Adivasis, or in some of the categories of Muslims also, are below poverty line people or poor people. So when it comes to the cost or sending a child to the school, the boys get the advantage of this while the girls don't get it. Boys, tomorrow he has to take the responsibility of the family. So that 1% of advantage will be given to the boy to send him to the school, while the girls are not given a chance and they are asked to learn the household activities, to assist the family members or to take care of the younger ones. Like this, because of various reasons, there is still a lot of gap between the boys' senses of how much percentage they are getting educated to the girls' percentage of getting education. So this is the modern day education or the present day educational system and comparison between boys' percentage and girls' percentage. Women's movements. Today in schools, it has become a common thing, like boys and girls are joining. There were days when the girls are not allowed to think about education, which we discussed in the previous part of the lesson. Raj Sundari Devi of West Bengal, who learned education secretly, midnights, without knowing to the other family members, because it is believed that if a girl gets educated, that is, she gets bad things or ill fate for her husband and family. So such superstitious beliefs are circled around the girls' education. Now moving on to understand, nowadays the girls have the right to study. The girls can go to schools. There is no one to stop a girl from going to school. Government provides certain benefits for them. Midday meal programs have ensured many of the SC, ST, Dalit, Adivasi girls to come and join in the schools, and there are no much dropouts because of the midday meal program. At the same time, legal reforms are made to stop the violence, the domestic violence which has been exerted on the girls. Like we have Raj Sundari Devi explaining that from morning onwards she is working till late night and still she don't have much rest at all. Like violence, domestic violence or health issues are to be taken care. So the change did not come automatic. There was a time only when girls are considered as the machines who work for doing all the household activities like cleaning utensils, washing clothes or taking care of the young ones, like this. So the time passed on, we had the dowry system where women now are targeted, and most of the young brides are being killed by the father-in-laws or their own in-laws or husbands with expecting more amount of money as dowries. So like this, there are various struggles which women has led to get today's present status of semi-equal status with boys. Earlier, they were very far from the normal status of being a human being. There were situations of sati system where the girls with the dead body of the husband were burnt alive, and the widow has to shave off her head and put only white colored dresses. So all these atrocities they have faced, and the change did not come in one day or 2 days. There were struggles led individually, and groups of women led across the world various struggles. Today we have the campaignings done against the harassments, create awareness to the people. The sexual harassments, if any sexual harassments are made, domestic violence is made at home, the court has given a clear judgment stating that no girl or woman can be treated with a domestic violence or sexual harassments or dowry deaths. Dowry deaths was up to 1980s a normal phenomenon, but after 1980s, every now and then we started to get the news that that particular family has killed their daughter-in-law. The in-laws were involved in this. So expecting more money from the girls' side, they started to torture the young brides and started to kill them so that they can marry their son to another new girl, so that girl will bring an extra bride for them. So she will give more dowry for them. Like this expecting dowry, and which catch the headlines for many days, created awareness, raised anger of the people. So women started to do public rallies, protests, create awareness to the people, conducting public debates, raising the concerns. So all these things ultimately led for banning of dowry system. Any family which demands dowry is a punishable offense according to the Indian Constitution, new laws which are passed. So like this, we need to create awareness to the people about their own rights, their own laws, their own benefits what they have, and how the equality can be attained. And as the time passed, now many of the men are also extending their support and solidarity for the women's equality. Earlier, men used to torture women. In most of the families, there was a high restriction for the girls. But now, the broad mind nature, the awareness of the boys made the families to rethink and start to give some chance of enhancement of freedom for the women. So let us hope very soon the girls are treated equally with boys and we have equitable society. In this chapter, we have discussed that the world, women change the world. Women's jobs are very restricted. In a class of 30, they generally assume that girls are eligible only to do certain service-oriented jobs like nursing, like becoming nuns, or becoming a teacher. That's what we discussed in few opportunities. We also discussed the breaking of stereotypes done by Lakshmi Lakra of Jharkhand, who now works as the first electromotive driver. So that's what we learned, that we need to break our stereotype mindset. And in the second part, we learned that learning for change. Whatever we learn, we need to change, or when we are learning something which automatically brings change. Like for example, in a pottery wheel, we discussed, the woman works, she brings the mud, she prepares the earthen, she then puts it in the pot, and the wheel is rotated by the man, so she is not considered as an important person in that pottery activity. And the women coming to schools was discussed in this learning for change. And what is the percentage between the boys' education and the girls' education, that we discussed in schooling and education today. The National Sample Survey Organization of India conducts calculations of populations, their educations, their financial status, their caste, category, region, religion, everything for every 10 years, known as census. So this census of 1960 gives us the statistics that only 40% of boys or men are getting educated, while it comes to the girls, it completely falls down to 15%. And as per 2001 census, it is 76% for boys while 52% for girls. So like this, still there is a lot of gap that has to be bridged between the boys and the girls' percentage of education. We also analyzed what are the reasons why the girl child is getting more dropouts, or why the girls are dropped out of education. That is because of the customs of their tribal groups, which we call as Adivasi groups, or the Dalits, or in the Muslim communities, where in Muslim communities we have only 3 years of formal education for them, while in the other communities we have only 4 years. The one reason could be because of poverty, where due to poverty most of the families could not afford or send their children to school, and that 1% of advantage gets added up to the boy child, while the girls are asked or requested or asked to stay at home to look after the household activities, so that father and mother can go for work. While coming to the second important reason is the transport. The schools, the primary schools are located within the village, within the walkable region. But when it comes to the upper primary and secondary schools, they are located for a group of villages together, which may be a 2 kilometer and above distance from their houses, and which attracts the security problems for them. So father and mother will be going for their daily works, and the children have to be taken care. At the same time, girl goes to other region and comes back, she can have so many harassments or anything else, or ill treatment, discrimination, as we discussed in the Om Prakash Valmiki's case as a Dalit student. So all these factors got added up for the dropouts of the girl child. That's what we discussed in schooling and education today. And coming to the women's movement, today girls have a right to go to school. Girls have a right to be treated equally. There are laws which are restricting the women's violence or harassment at homes or sexual harassments or anything. So we need to create awareness and campaign, like what is the thing that is happening. We need to understand that this is not accepted. It is legally a punishable offense. If you do this crime, if you torture any of your wife or your friend or any girl, you are punishable. So you need to learn all these things and create awareness to the people. When any girl faces this kind of atrocities or anything, the other women are also now showing solidarity and raising public rallies and everything to protest that kind of happenings. So which also triggered that the confidence for the women that they can fight back for their equality. And after 1980s, the Dowry Prohibition Act was passed. Earlier to that, most of the young brides are tortured for get more dowry for them, and most of them are killed by their own husbands or in-laws, so that they can marry their son to another girl and get more dowry for them. So like these cases all caught the headlines for many days, triggered for discussions, debates, rallies, public protest, and all these things. Finally the government decided that we need to stop the dowry, and whichever family demands dowry is a punishable offense. So like this, for everything, especially for women, they are raising their slogans. They want to fight for their equality. It was not an easy task. There were days when the women were not allowed to get educated and believed that woman gets educated, it brings ill fate for the husband and his family. So all these stereotype views have to be broken down, and to give equal status for boys and girls, and also give equal opportunities for girls also to grow equally with boys. So that's all we have in this lesson. Women change the world.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.